mind. I've been from Tucson to Tucumcari, to Hatchapeta, torn apart, driven every kind of rig that's ever been made, driven the back roads so I wouldn't get weighed. If you give me wheat, whites, and wine, and you show me a sign, I'll be willing to be moving. Hey friends, how's it going? David Potts here with Song Notes, and today I'm going to show you how to play the song Willin. This is a song by Little Feat. Been a great song. I actually have never heard it before until the last 2 weeks, and it's been stuck in my head gloriously, so I've spent a lot of time with it. I've got a nice lesson worked out for you. I got this chord sheet worked out for you, so check it out on my website, playsongnotes.com. It's a great way after you watch this video or while you're watching this video to follow along, to get this stuff and take it with you. Both the lyrics, everything you need to know on the first page, and then the second, third, fourth pages I go deep on some of the strumming patterns, the chord shapes, and the progressions, and just working it all out for you, teaching you the intro step by step. So you'll be in good shape. This is going to be a standard tuning lesson, right? No fancy tunings, no capo, nothing like that. And let's get into it. You can jump ahead if you know what you're looking for. I got the timestamps right here. But with that said, I'm excited to show you this song. So let's go, starting now. Willin' by Little Feat. Let's do it. Alright, so first up, let's look at the chords we're going to need for this song. And, at first I was going to break these into the intro chords and then the chords for the rest of the song, but there's actually so much overlap, I'm just going to show them to you all at once here. So even if you only care about the intro, 80% of these chords are going to matter for you. So you see them grouped here, right? These intro ones are going to be played just with 2 fingers on our left hand. I think of these as like a Blackbird chords or the Joni Mitchell song, A Case of You, right? Where we're going to sort of go up from a... this is our G, and this is our D over F sharp, and this is our E minor, and this is our D, and this is our C. So how to do these chords, right? So first up, all the chords I just played, our bass note is always played with our left index finger on the 5th string, okay? So I kind of think of these chords as I tell my brain, like, what's the root, meaning what's the bottom note. So for the G, for example, let's start with that one. 10th fret on the 5th string, and then 12th fret on the 2nd string. Okay, and you can start without a pick. It's actually nice to sort of grab the notes like this for starters, right? Now, eventually, how I like to play these chords is basically do thumb, or no, if you're going to strum, you just strum, right? But if you're doing it without a pick, I'll teach you this first. Thumb on the 5th string, index finger on the 3rd, and middle finger on the 2nd, okay? For all these chords, that's what we're going to do. And for all these chords, the 3rd string, this G string, is going to be open, meaning we're not going to press it down, right? So basically I'm plucking those here. Now, what I'm doing is if you're going to strum it, you want your index finger to always sort of lean into the 4th string, right? 5th string, 4th string, 5th string, 4th string. I'm not pushing the 4th string down. This would be pushing it down, right? I'm not pushing it down. I'm just sort of touching my finger on it lightly. And that deadens the string. So even if your pick hits it, it won't make a sound. That's really good because that lets us play the middle 4 strings, right? This is a G, so it's 10th fret, muted, open, 12th fret, okay? Now, to play the next chord, it's going to be a D over F sharp. What we're going to do is you want to tell your brain that index finger is going to be on the 9th fret. That's the root. And this is going to be only a 1 fret difference between the 5th string and the 2nd string. So it's going to be 9, muted, open, 10th. Okay, so it's 9, 10 right here. So this is 10, 12. This is 9, 10. Okay, and if you're strumming it, now it sounds nice and dissonant, and that's actually intended. That's what you hear in the album version of this song, and it sounds better in context, right? Okay, so don't worry about that dissonance there. But 9, 9 and 10. And the next one is the same shape. This is the E minor. It's just 2 frets lower. So this is 7 and 8. Okay, 7 on the 5th string and 8 on the 2nd string. Again, 4th string is muted and 3rd string is open. This is our E minor. Next is back to some bigger stretches down here, right? Just like up here with the G, instead of going 10 to 12, we want to go 5 to 7. This is a D. Okay? And then you bump that down 2 frets to be a C, 3 and 5. 3 right here, and 5 right here. Now note, you're going to find, if you're me, and probably I imagine this is the case, this C is a lot harder to play than this G. A couple of reasons for that. One is the G, your hand is sort of more in a central position with your body, right? You're not having to reach to do it. The further you have to reach, you kind of lose leverage a little bit. So, and also down here, the frets are getting wider. So you have a wider gap to cover with your fingers. So get comfortable with this G, right? Then you apply that same shape down here to the D and to the C. Okay, so understand for reference, these are the chord shapes that are going to be used in that first part of the intro. And now let's look at these chords that are in the second part of the intro. All right, so the rest of these chords are going to be a bit more straightforward as far as open chords go, right? So the first one is going to be a G chord. Now with this one, I recommend the positioning you use, if you can, is to put your your ring finger on the low E string, 3rd fret, and then your middle finger here for the thickest 2 strings. And I put my pinky up here. Right? And the reason why is because lots of times you're going to transition from this G to a C. And check out that transition of my ring finger from the 6th string to the 5th string. See how easy of a transition that is? And my middle finger as well. They're right here for the G, and they go right here for the C. Okay? So I recommend that voicing for the G. You could do whatever voicing you want, to be honest, but that's going to make it easier for you. Then you have a regular C chord, okay? Now the next chord you're going to need in the intro is a D, but it's not our typical D. It's going to be one where it's basically a C shape, but it's slid up right here. So instead of anchoring on the 3rd fret for your ring finger for a C chord, you're going to anchor it on the 5th fret. And let's only strum the middle 4 strings if you can. If you get the high E string, it doesn't really matter too much, but I like to keep it to the middle 4 strings. In the intro, we're going to do this little, transition of a C to this D, back to the C. And with the D, it's okay if you let the 3rd string ring. It adds a little bit of distinction to that D sound, right? So that's another little voicing you want to be comfortable with. This is C and then this D, okay? Now, what are some other ones here? We're going to need a D chord, a regular D chord, right? Just the thinnest 4 strings. And if you want, you can make use of a D over F sharp in this song. And honestly, it's totally optional. But I'm doing this by wrapping my thumb here on the low E string. But again, totally not required at all. And a couple more chords we're going to need here are this transition we have from a G, which I've already showed you, but we're going to go to an A minor 7. This is just like a C, but our ring finger is up. It's open. And it's 5th string open. Right? So open, 2nd, open, 1st, open. This is an A minor 7. Then we have a G over B. Middle 4 strings only. 2nd, open, open, 3rd. And then it's going to end on a C. Now this is important because we want the bass notes to really, we want to hear that rise. Right? Then you can take it back down too. Right? Right? G, A, B, C. That's the bass notes I'm playing. But those are the bass notes of all those chords I just showed you, and those are going to come up later in the song. When I've driven every rig that's ever been made, and I've driven the back roads I wouldn't get weighed, and if you give me wheat, whites, and wine. So in those 2 little sections there, I went up on every little rig. I've driven every rig that's ever been made. Then I took it down when the weed, whites, and wine line happened. So those chords are going to be important too. All right. So those are going to be the chords we're going to need for this song. And now that we have the chords, let's talk about strumming just for 1 second, and then I'll get into the intro, and then later on I'll talk about the verse and the pre-chorus and the chorus and all that stuff. Now strumming, though, is going to be a constant for this entire song. It's something you need to do even in the intro. Now the way I recommend approaching it is as follows. Now there's so much nuance on the album version of this song. I'm not necessarily going to teach you exactly what they do in all cases, because that might involve multiple guitars, and it's just there's so much again, subtle nuance they're doing. I'm not going to capture it. I'm going to show you a sort of single, straightforward strumming pattern you can use. This is what I use when I play the song, and it's going to sound like this, right? We're going to do a bass down, up, bass down, up, bass down, up, bass down, up, up. And what that is that bass, what I'm saying there, it's the bass string of whatever chord we're playing, and that's going to be on the 1 count, right? So it's a down strum, really. So fundamentally, this is like a down, down, up, down, up, down, down, up, 1, 2, and 4, and 1, 2, and 4, and 1, 2, and 4, and. But if you play the bass string only, or maybe the bass 1 or 2 strings only, and if we do a G chord, for example, right? Bass down, up, bass down, up, bass down, up, bass down, up. Okay? On the up, I'm really just brushing those thinnest 3 or 4 strings. You don't need to be doing all the strings, right? It's just a right. C, and I'll go to a D next, just to show you context here. Okay? So that's the fundamental pattern I'm going to use for this song. Now, there is going to be a secondary pattern I'm going to show you a little bit later when we get into the pre-chorus and the chorus, and that's going to be for some of these split measures where we only have 2 counts in the measure. I'm not going to do that now because we won't need that in the intro, and I want to stick with what I just showed you, the bass down, up, bass down, up, because we're going to use that in the intro starting right now. So the intro. So to learn the intro, it's basically 8 measures, right? I'm going to start off with just the first 4 measures because those are the ones that involve these chords I showed you, right? And we want to get comfortable with those. And those are going to end on a G, and a G is going to start our 5th measure. But let's work on the first 4 measures and work down to ending on this G. Okay, that'll be a big, nice first step for you to tackle. And we're just going to keep it simple at first. We're just going to do a single strum at first on the 1 count of each measure. So the first measure is a G, right? G, 2, 3, 4, then D over F sharp, 3, 4, E minor. Let me do that again. So on the E minor, what's going to happen is 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So on the 4 count of the E minor measure, we're actually going to do a single strum of the D. And then we go to the C for the 4th measure on the 1 count. All right, so G, 2, 3, 4, D over F sharp, 4, E minor, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, then G, 2, 3, 4. Okay, without me, let's do the counting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Get comfortable with that first, because before we add in strumming and all the other stuff, you really want to just have those basic, those first 4 measures good. And what I just did right there is a nice little way to practice this. So this is not necessarily required, but it's instead of doing a single down strum, I'm doing a bass down, 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 bass down. Then you go to the G. So start off with this, get comfortable with it, especially if you're not familiar with these chords or you're a bit rusty. You want to start and just get comfortable with that little progression there. Okay, so now that we have that, let's bring in the other 4 measures, which look like this. So we're going to end up on the 5th measure, which is our G, okay? And that's going to be 1 measure itself. So G, 2, 3, 4, C, D, C, G, 2, 3, 4, G, 2, 3, 4. So I think the only thing that's really tricky about this second 4 measures is this 6th measure, where we're going to go C, D, C, G. And what's tricky about it is the timing. And what I mean by that is basically we're gonna basically be on each chord for 3/8 notes, 3/8 notes, right? 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and so again, if I was to do the 5th measure, it would be G, 2 and 3 and 4 and C and D, C, right? So it's if you break each measure into 8 counts, right? 8th notes. You're going to be on the C for 3/8 notes, the D for 3/8 notes, and then the second C for 2/8 notes before you end up on the G. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Right? So again, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. So it's the 1 count, it's the 2 and count, and it's the 4 count before we go back to the G on the next 1 count. Okay, so get comfortable with that. That's the next one you want to practice. So here, let's do this. Let's do the whole intro as I show it here, just to get you sort of warmed up. Let's do a single strum. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, so that's the next thing you want to practice. We're not bringing in strumming yet. We're just getting the chords and the progression and the timing, because it only gets trickier once you bring in strumming and everything. Okay? So the next thing I would say is to bring in the strumming pattern I showed you earlier, right? The bass down, up down, up 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 bass down. Let me do it one more time. Bass down, up down, up bass down, up down, up bass down, bass. Okay. Now I want to say I've been practicing this song for 3 or 4 days on repeat, right? And the first couple days were a bit rough for me. And, you know, I think the last day or two I've finally gotten into a groove where I can play this and I'm just sort of not trying to overdo it. I'm not strumming too loud, and I'm finding that good balance of the strum and the bass notes, you know, and everything. But don't feel bad if you're not getting it at first, okay? So that's what I recommend for the intro to this song. Now, you can go a bit further if you want to really imitate what the band is doing. There's tabs out there that get really in-depth and nuanced with your bass notes and some of your accents and everything. I'm not going to get into those here just because it's really, really specific and tough and nuanced. And also, I'm pretty sure the band has some open G guitars, I believe, that are being used, and it's just tricky. So I want to just show you this version. It'll get you definitely 80-90% of the way there, and it's pretty much going to be what you're going to need to do. So the cool thing is what I just showed you for the intro is also going to be used in the verse when you're singing. So let's move on into the verse and chorus now, and we can talk about those. So, and if we start just with the verse, you know, if we look at the progression, it basically looks like this. This is the same exact progression I showed you just now with the intro, and you can play it with the intro chords, right? So I've been woke by the rain, driven by the snow, I'm drunk and dirty, don't you know, and I'm still Willin. One more time. The second verse now was out on the road late at night. I see my pretty Alice in every headlight. Alice, Dallas, Alice. Okay. Now, so that's basically the intro I just showed you with the strumming I had just showed you, right? The bass down, up down, up 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 bass. You're not doing the bass down, up on the C and D. You are doing the same strumming pattern, right? Down, down, up, down, up. But you're not doing the bass note accent just because you don't have time. But otherwise, you know, that verse is going to use the same things. But you also could play the verse with regular chords, right? So bass down, up, bass down, up, bass down, up, bass down, up, bass. So that would sound like this. So if you played the verse with regular open chords, that would be, and let's just use a regular D for that second chord. So it would be a G, 2, 3, 4, D, 2, 3, 4, E minor, 2, 3, 4, C, 2, 3, 4, G, 2, 3, 4, C. I'm still gonna do that slide. I like the slide, right? So I've been Woke by the rain, driven by the snow. I'm drunk and dirty, don't you know? And I'm still Willin. You know, if we did the second, let's do the second part of the very last verse. I smuggle some smokes and folks from Mexico, baked by the sun every time I go to Mexico. And I'm still. Okay, so the verse, same as the intro, same chord progression, and whether you use open chords or you use the intro voicings I showed you, you'll be in good shape there, right? So now let's look at the pre-chorus, because the pre-chorus is where it gets a little bit tricky with the progression. So the good news here is no more of the open, no more of these chord shapes, right? If those are giving you trouble, we're not using those anymore in the pre-chorus and then the chorus. But where it gets tricky here is the progressions, right? Because number one, we're going to have some new chords here. We're going to have this G to the A minor 7 to the G over B. Okay? We'll need to do that, but also some of these measures only have 2 counts. So this is where that second strumming pattern I mentioned comes into play. And this second strumming pattern is going to be a bass down up, bass down up, bass down up, bass down up. And the idea here is when we have some of these measures where, so if I just do the regular strumming pattern, right? G, down, down, up, right? That walk up I just did, those are all shorter measures of only 2 counts. And in those measures, we're going to be doing a bass, down, up, bass, down, up, bass, down, up, bass, down, up, down, up, bass, down, up, down, up. Okay, so you see in this chart right here that I have up, right? So this is that part of the pre-chorus when he says, he's on a G, right? And he says, driven every kind of rig that's ever been made, right? So that middle part is what we're talking about. Bass down, up, bass down, up, bass down, up, bass down, up, down, up, bass down, up, down, up. It's the G, the A minor 7, the G over B. Those are all 2 counts per measure, and it's going to be a bass down, up, bass down, up, bass down, up. Then you go back to the regular strumming pattern, okay? So that little strumming pattern for the split measures, we're going to use that a few different times here. All right, so the pre-chorus, here's what the chart looks like. And now that you see that part with the two count measures, right? The G to the A7 to the G over B, that's where we're going to use that special 2 count strumming thing. And likewise, on there's a 2 count measure of a C on the very last line of the pre-chorus. But let's just do a quick playthrough here, right? So, I've been from Tucson to Tucumcari to Hatshepsut to Tonopah. Driven every kind of rig that's ever been made. Driven the back roads so I wouldn't get weighed. And that final D, we're going to ring it out. Before I continue though, let me go through that slower. Okay, so the first 4 measures are going to be just C for 1 measure, to D for 1 measure, D for another measure, and then G for 1 measure. Then we go bass down, up, bass down, up, bass down, up, C down, up, C down, up, C down, up, down, up, D down, up, down. Okay? So in all those measures, I'm using the bass down, up, bass down, up, bass down, up, unless it's one of the 2 count measures, the measures with only 2 beats, in which case I'm doing a bass down, up. Okay? So keep that in mind there. But otherwise, that's what we'll need for the pre-chorus. And the pre-chorus repeats. It's in the song twice, and it uses the same lyrics each time. And the pre-chorus ends with us letting that final D chord ring, because then we're going to stop our strumming, and we're going to move to the chorus. And if you give me... So for this weed, whites, and wine, basically, I do a single strum of the C. Weeds, whites, and... So I'm just doing a walk down, with a bass note only from the G over B, and the A minor 7. And then you bring in your strumming on the G. And if you show me a sign, I'll be willing to be moving. Okay? So after the walk down, we're just going to get our regular strumming pattern going on, and we're going to have 2 measures of G, 2 measures of D, and then a measure of G, and then that little measure, and then 2 more measures of G. So let's do that. So wheat, white, sand, white, G, G, and then to D, D again, and then G, and then C, D, C, G, G. Okay? So that's how you play that one. And then that's what you're going to need for the chorus of the song. So you just string them together. You do the verse, whether you want to do this strumming, right? Or if you just want to do regular strumming with open chords. Either way works. Do what is good for you. Okay? Now let me do a playthrough here, and then that's going to that'll hopefully help you show you how it all sounds and you put it all together. Okay? I've been woke by the rain, driven by the snow. I'm drunk and dirty, don't you know? And I'm still Willin. I was out on the road, it was late at night. I see my pretty Alice in every headlight. Alice, Dallas, Alice. And I've been from Tucson to Tucumcari, to Hatchapee to Tonopah, driven every kind of rig that's ever been made, driven the back roads so I wouldn't get away. And if you give me wheat, white, sand, wine, and you show me a sign, I'll be willing to be moving. Well, I've been kicked by the wind, robbed by the sleet, had my head stubbed in, but I'm still on my feet, and I'm still willing. Smuggled some smokes and folks from Mexico, baked by the sun every time that I go to Mexico. And I'm still, and I've been from Tucson to Tucumcari, to Hatchapee to Tonopah, driven every kind of rig that's ever been made, driven the back roads so I wouldn't get away. If you give me wheat, white, sand, wine, and you show me a sign, I'll be willing to be moving. And there you have it. That's how you play Willin' by Little Feat, y'all. Thanks for watching. Remember, get the PDF at my website, playsongnotes.com. It gives you everything you need to know to play this song, and I appreciate those of you who have watched this far in the lesson. So I'm going to head on out now. Take care, my friends, and I will see you on the other side. Bye-bye.